Now, I think either next week or the week after, we're going to look at some multiple student examples kind of from start to finish and just go through some of the reports and kind of look at what students are doing well and what they could be doing better. And so there's a lot of things that I could show you guys with the couple examples that we're going to look at here. But to save time and to instead focus on what we really want to get to right now, which is discussion section and recommendation section, we're going to mostly jump down to there, okay? But we will look very briefly at other things. So this topic is about developing sex education programs. This was a little bit before IREC kind of updated some of their guidelines. It was before we really were more careful about asking sensitive topic questions. I think we were still mostly okay with this one, but we did maybe push it a little bit. I've allowed some of you to research sensitive topics as long as you're not asking people questions that you shouldn't be asking them as a classroom researcher. But anyway, so it's about the main problem that the two researchers here focus on is the lack of adequate sex education at NU. That's their main research question, or that's their main problem. And their question is, what is the importance of developing sex education programs at Nazarbayev University? Okay. Like I said in our last video about methods, they have the problem-solving model. In fact, if anything, I would say they're a little too wordy just because they're very, very comprehensive. These are kind of like go-getter students. They've written a lot. And in fact, you can write too much. Okay, so be very careful with that. And then they've decided to break up their information here within criteria at first, and then solutions here, okay? Their decision matrix, your decision matrix goes in your results section. Again, we talked about all of this, but I just want to show you what their research is about, and so you understand the discussion section a little bit better. So they have a decision matrix on sex education methods. They have 5 criteria here: reliability, informativeness, environmental friendliness, reach, and effectiveness. And then they have their different methods of sex education here based off of their ranking. This online consultation service was the top scorer, followed by spreading informative articles on social media, right? But they all seem to get fairly high score there, all right, out of 100. So here they break down, make sure you don't answer your methods, your discussions, your decision matrix, sorry. Please make sure not to answer your decision matrix in the methods section. So in this is the methods section here. We shouldn't say what score online consultations got yet because we haven't got to that part yet. We're still doing, this is still like the planning part, right? What we're planning on doing. And so we, hypothetically haven't gotten to that part yet. These are just the solutions and the criteria based off of secondary research. Now here, these students, I know I said I wasn't going to get into the methods section. Look at me getting into it. These students focus only on this author for all of their criteria. And with reliability, they don't cite any secondary sources. You don't have to cite for everything. And you also don't have to cite your primary things that connect to your primary research. But notice all the different sources here. We've got this IPPF one, which is used a couple of times, but then we have Watson and Keller. And so we have some good foundation here within secondary research. And they even explain how they're going about their grading method, okay, with some more secondary research there. Results section explains specifically just the results without analysis, and just the most important results, and including the decision matrix, right? And information about the decision matrix. So every graphic needs to be referenced in the text. So if you have a figure or a table, it needs to be referenced in the actual text. All right, that is required. And so here we did need more information about the decision matrix. They should have said something like online consultation services got the highest score because it got an 86, mainly due to effectiveness and whatever reliability. Boy. Whereas mandatory seminars got the lowest, mainly because it failed on this, right? And so you just explain it a little bit, not all of it, just kind of the main features in the results section without any analysis. We don't say what it means or why it got that score, right? Why it costs more, why it's more friendly environmentally. All right, discussion section. We're finally here. We got here. Okay, so we're doing a report around the problem of a lack of sex education at Nazarbayev University, and our main research question gets answered right away in the discussion section. So in the discussion section, you're going to have a number of sections. It's okay. It's up to you on what you want to call it. Here we have interpretation of results. We have analysis of decision matrix. And then they've decided to combine, then they have consideration of weaknesses, and they've combined broader implications with future prospects, okay? It's up to you on how you design all of this. A couple of things that I do require. In the discussion section, I want you to answer the research question within the first paragraph. Look how quickly they answer it. It was revealed that it is fairly important to develop sex education programs at Nazarbayev University. Now, I actually deleted some of this previously, and so it was actually said a little bit better right there, but it was actually the second sentence where they answered the research question. Here it's the first one because I deleted something else. Anyways, fairly quickly, they answer their research question briefly with some detail, right? And then we go into more detail over the course of these pages as we unpack all the information. Now, interestingly, they had a slight discrepancy with their primary research and their secondary research. I'm going to talk about that later in a separate video. And it's going to be all about what happens if your primary research and your secondary research don't line up well. And so we'll talk about how to deal with that issue. We're not going to cover that much in this class, but they did have an issue with this, particularly with one specific question where they asked, basically, do you feel let's see, secure in your knowledge about sexual relationships? They said yes, but her secondary research implied that they shouldn't. Okay, so what does that mean, right? And so we'll talk about how to deal with that later. Here, importantly, we have the analysis of the decision matrix, right? So reliability, they decided to break it down into sections of criteria. You can break it down into sections of criteria, of solutions, however you want to break it down. It's up to you. You obviously don't have to cover every bit of information, just the most important or what you deem the most important. So, right here, they say all options received average scores. And so they're generalizing the information, right? They're citing sources here, citing sources. That's quite important, actually. It's as important as the method section, if not more important, to cite your sources here to really show that your analysis involves the secondary research and not just primary research and not just your own ideas or arguments, okay? But the important thing is that you're making sure to analyze this information and to explain a little bit why certain things won, why certain things lost, why certain things got higher scores, why certain things got lower scores. Consideration of weaknesses, we won't go into detail there. Future prospects and broader implications, okay. Again, these guys tend to be a little wordy. You don't have to have a document that's 28 pages long, okay. They did 2 forms of primary research. I'm guessing most groups are only going to do 1 form, and they're very comprehensive in their language. They have 3 different appendices, I believe, okay. Anyways, what's important here is they also have a recommendation section, okay? Based on analyzing the decision matrix and combining the most effective 2 options, it is recommended to pursue the following solution to the problem of lack of sex education at Nazarbayev University. Now, I want this a little bit formatted closer to what our textbook, chapter 18, says. Now, you can include extra information like they did, but I like to include the actual name of the person, right? We're recommending 2 President Katsu or whoever, right? Now, they have done an interesting thing here by combining certain things. Create a website specifically for providing comprehensive sexual education. Now, if we look at their solutions here, anonymous online consulting service, spreading informative articles on social media and official websites, sex therapist consultation, mandatory seminars. Now let's look at what they said about their recommendations here. Creating a website, okay, for comprehensive sex education. This website will contain all necessary information about human sexuality, sexual reproduction, safe sex, sexual abstinence, and relationships. All right. It is very important to hire sex therapists who are responsible for organizing such a website. So the students here may have lost some points for picking a recommendation that wasn't really connected to their decision matrix, because what that does is it a little bit subverts the whole purpose of the decision matrix. If we're spending 6 weeks or 7 weeks doing extensive research to become amateur scholars on a problem and spend a lot of time, hundreds of pages of reading, looking across the world for solutions, and we then create this decision matrix and we do all this math to figure out what the best solution is, and then we don't even pick any of those, it's a little problematic. Now, the reason why I think it is okay is because they say an online consulting service, right? That's kind of what they recommended, is as a website, but it's a little bit weak in that they basically said have a website and include all of these, right? Just create a website and do all of them. Well, that's a lot of work and that's a lot of money, right? That's a lot of time. And so these students definitely likely lost some points here, because when you combine two options, that completely changes all of the criteria rankings, right? When you combine all 4 options, that completely changes all of the criteria ranking. And so I do think it is okay, and there are instances where decision solutions will change and certain ones can be combined and certain ones might have to be modified, things like that. I guess I would have preferred a little bit more explanation about why they have to be combined in this solution, and what's that going to do for cost, right? And actually building this website. If we have to include all of these, sounds very uh, a lot of information, a lot of detail, right? Like maybe this should have been the second choice, and the first choice was just the online service, the anonymous online service, and this could have been like the thing to slowly build. It's like start with the online service, create that, and then over time build the other services, right? Anyway, so that's the recommendation section here. Like I said, I don't think they fully followed the example from our textbook, and I'd recommend you following that example. If you guys want to see it real quickly here, um, a different format, let me show you real quick a IEEE version here. Okay, so this is, I hope you can't see it yet. Let's see. Okay, so this is IEEE right here. So this is what it'll look like if you're using IEEE. Actually, sorry, I lied. This is AMA format. It's very similar to IEEE. Let me show you an actual IEEE one. So this is IEEE right here. Again, it looks very similar. Notice here in the breaking down of information, they have in their discussion section, they also have an interpretation of results. And then they have subsections identifying the problems, the decision matrix explanation, other applications. They actually created 2 decision matrices, one about the physical security, one about digital security, because their main problem was 5G security issues around 5G, physically and digitally. And then their recommendations is option 1, option 2. they lost some points for not being further detailed and saying option 1 colon, what is it, right? Because we want to know right away. Option 2 colon, what is it, right away. And only recommend 2 if you're certain that 2, you need to recommend both. Otherwise, just recommend 1, okay? All right. Hopefully that was helpful information. Don't worry about a conclusion. Last semester I required a conclusion. This semester I'm not. It's unnecessary. Okay, we have enough written already. We want to keep this thing concise as possible. All right, good luck on your research. Like I said, next week, let's look quickly here at our schedule moving forward. Right here we go. All right. So next week, so this weekend, your discussion and recommendation draft are due. What is required in those? So it's obviously a draft, and so I will be understanding if it's not complete. Discussion section should have a tentative answer to your research question. It should at least begin to analyze the decision matrix. It should have secondary sources cited in it already. I like that already needs to be happening. It doesn't need to be cited extensively, but I need at least some citations in there. These things that I'm recommending right now are in order to get full credit, okay, because it's a pass-fail assignment. So as long as you do those basic things, somehow answer the question tentatively and analyze the decision matrix, solutions, and criteria with secondary research. That will be enough for the discussion section so far. Feel free to include as much as you can. If you want to write also other things, you can. Then the recommendation section, just write it fully like you would, and follow chapter 18's example of that, please. It can change and it can be modified over the coming weeks, but I do expect a full recommendation section written out. Good luck on that. Next week, we'll go over the introduction section as well as the other sections of the report as we look at turning in a full draft of the IMRAD. And then we're also going to be talking about our sort of final assignment, I guess second to last final, other than the final IMRaDR. I guess our last new assignment, the conference poster, which is very connected to your IMRAD. We'll introduce that next week as well. I'm guessing if I introduce it this week, you guys won't put a whole lot of time into it, which makes sense. You're busy doing your discussion and recommendation. We'll save it for next week, for the next 2 weeks. All right. Thanks, guys, and good luck on